Hi everyone, so I'm here today with part 1 of my 10 cards 1 kit video for Simon Says Stamps June 2018 Fly Me Away card kit. So let's get started with card number 1. We're going to use the 3D embossing folder that comes in the kit, and I'm using a piece of red velvet pearlescent cardstock from Tonic, and I sprayed it with water first before putting it into the folder and then running it through my die machine. And so here it is, it's out, it's all 3D and beautiful, and now I'm just cutting it down so that it's about, I think, 5 inches by, or 5 1/4 by 4. Then we're going to use one of the pattern papers in the kit, the one with the balloons, and I'm just marking where I want to cut the paper because I'm only going to use part of the sheet of paper because I want some of that pretty red velvet embossed cardstock to show through. And here I'm just trimming the top and the bottom of the pattern paper so that it fits appropriately on the card. And I also thought it would be nice to give it a really thin black frame behind the pattern paper just to set it apart from the red embossed cardstock. I'm using one of the sentiments in the kit, the sentiment that says happy birthday, and I'm going to stamp it right onto the pattern paper with black VersaFine ink. And as always, I put clear embossing powder over it and then heat set it. Now I'm going to add some foam tape to the top panel and then set it aside for now because first we're going to adhere the red velvet cardstock panel directly to the card base. And then once that's on, then it's time to put on our focal panel. And there it is. So that is card 1. Now moving on to card 2, we're going to use some more Tonic papers for this card and a pattern paper from the kit. That's the one I'm die cutting right now. We have silver silk cardstock from Tonic, powder blue lace specialty paper, and then teal weave textured paper. And I'm just using some rectangle dies from Spellbinders to cut out 2 panels. And this is a die from Mama Elephant. It says love, and we're going to use this to make a dimensional inlay greeting into the card. So we're going to just set aside those letters because we're going to add them in a second. Here I'm just backing the love panel on the silver silk just so that it has a nice border. These letters, I took the die and I cut out some Nina cardstock 110 pound 4 times, and I layered those 4 layers on top of each other so that the letters will pop up from the greeting so that they'll be dimensional. And here I'm just adding the top layer onto my letters that already have 4 layers of the 110 pound Nina cardstock. And then once we have them all arranged, then we're going to put the rest of the card together. And here I'm putting the powder blue cardstock panel on top of the teal from Tonic, and then we're going to apply all that to a card base, and then we're going to pop up the focal panel on foam tape. And now it's time to add the letters back onto the focal panel. So I'm just going to use some adhesive and I'm going to apply it directly to the panel, and then I'm going to put the letters right on top of that. And as you can see, it's pretty cute. So they're sitting exactly where they were if they were flat, except they're popped up. So it's kind of it's a look that I like, and I've been using it a lot lately. I think it's a nice way to add interest to a card. So let's set that aside for a second and just let that dry. It's dried, and now we're just going to apply the whole panel to the front of the card. And next we're going to add these 3 flowers that I used the stamps in the set, and then I just cut them out by hand. I colored them in with Copic markers. For the purple one, that's B60, B63, and B66. And then this green flower is BG 70, 72, and 75. And then the pinkish purple flower is RV 91, 95, and then 99. And if you notice, part of it is dimensional, so the sides on the outside are dimensional of the flowers, so they pop up. And then another piece of it is adhered directly to the cardstock. I used a sentiment from the kit saying sending lots of, and then just finishing it with a white gel pen, just adding some of the little pollen or whatever that is inside the centers of the flowers, just to give it a little pop. And that is it for card number 2. So moving on to card number 3. Here I'm using one of the Simon Says stamp picture book dies that I bought maybe about a month ago, and I haven't had a chance to use it yet. So I thought this would be a good kit to kind of add that. So we have a little character on one of our cards. So when I put the picture book dies together, I always like to apply them to a base. So that's what I was just doing. I was just cutting out a base so that when it comes time to put all the pieces together, I like to put them onto a base and then put them onto a card. You could also put it directly onto the card, but I just find it gives me more flexibility if I have a base, so it's all one piece by the time I put it together. So I also like to color my pieces in with Copic markers. I feel like it just looks really, really interesting when you color it in with Copic markers. It just gives a lot of variation of color. You could also use colored cardstock, and then if you want some interest, you could go over the edges with, you know, a slightly darker distress ink or other ink that you have, and that could give you a similar effect. So for the lion's mane, we used YR 20 through 27, and then for the face, we're using those in the Y20 range, and then also Y11, just to brighten everything up and give it a nice yellow pop. And we're going to color the body in the same way that we did the face. And for the little haunches here, we're just going to add a little YR27 on the outside just to give them some definition. For the ears, I used R20 and R22. The eyes are G09, and the nose is E29 and E49, which is one of my favorite brown combinations recently. Okay, so now it's time to attach everything to the base, and to do so I just take some adhesive, put it on the piece that I'm about to lay down, and then I kind of just pop it in place onto the background that I've cut out. And then this way everything kind of sits together nicely, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Then you have a little character you can stick wherever you want. Another fun thing to do with these picture book dies, if you have children, is to put a little pin on the back of it, and then you know, and then they can have like a pin to wear on their jacket. I like to do that at Christmas time with the Christmas time picture book dies, but I think it might be fun to do it with these little animals as well. All right, so time to put the card together. So we're going to make use of the leftovers of the love die that we had cut out for the previous card. Remember, we needed to cut out love 4 times so that we can make our greeting dimensional on the other card. So we're going to use the leftover piece for this card here, and I just adhered that to a piece of pistachio green cardstock from Tonic, and then backed it with teal cardstock by Tonic, and then a piece of pattern paper from the kit, and then a sentiment from the kit that says sending lots of. And then we're just going to put some glossy accents on the mane, not on the mane, on the ears and the nose and the eyes. And then the mane has some glitter pen, and that is it for card number 3. Moving on to card number 4. Here I wanted to have a chance to play with my metallic paints. So I embossed a black piece of cardstock with some gold embossing powder. I think this is Lawn Fawn's embossing powder. And then I heat set that, and then I'm going to use my metallic paints to color in some of the flowers. And the metallic paints that I'm going to use are by Gonzai Tombi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it's the Starry Colors palette. And this color that I'm using for the first flower is called White Gold number 906. And I'm using a water brush to apply it to the black cardstock. And there's no real technique here. It's not like I'm trying to make it darker in any area. I'm just trying to coat the flower and let the paint do the work for me. The second color is light gold number 905, and I'm using that for the second flower. And then for the third flower, we're going to use 904 champagne gold. And then once we're done with that, we're going to move on to the leaves. And for the leaves, I used, sometimes I used red gold 902. That's the color I'm picking up now. And I think a couple other times I used yellow gold 903 to color in the leaves. And for a bunch of the leaves in this stamp, there wasn't really much area to color in at all. So like the little leaves off to the right side, I didn't end up filling them in. Okay, so once I finished that panel, I ended up cutting it down. So you can't even tell it was on black cardstock. So I probably didn't need to do that. I probably could have just used white, but whatever. And now I'm going to put the card together. We're using some black glitter cardstock by Tonic, some teal weave textured cardstock by Tonic. We're going to apply that on, put some foam tape on that, and then put that onto the black glitter cardstock. The blue paper on top, that's a piece of pattern paper from the kit. And then for the flowers, for the flower panel, I want the edges, the top and bottom edges to stick up. So I'm going to use some score tape. I'm not going to cover the entire panel because I want to, you'll see, I'm going to kind of play around with the edges so that they're sticking up a little bit, just to give the card a little bit of interest. And then we're going to apply the sentiment right on top of that. And it says love and hugs, and that's one of the sentiments in the kit. And I embossed that with silver embossing powder. And then we're just gonna throw on a couple of Nuvo drops in black, pale gold, and then clear. And I'm just kind of placing them randomly, but in a kind of diagonal pattern from the lower left-hand corner up through the upper right-hand corner. And here I'm just trying to figure out where to put them, and I think that that's it. I think it looks okay how it is. And let's move on to card number 5. So for card number 5, I thought I wanted to do something in black and white, so I thought a sympathy card would be good for this. So we're just going to take that really large floral stamp in this kit and stamp it with black VersaFine ink, and then we're going to cut it down so that it's going to fit on our card base, and add a sentiment in the lower left-hand corner. Here I had a sentiment that just says, "So sorry for your loss." This wasn't in the kit, it was just something I had. But any sympathy sentiment you have, I think would work. So deepest sympathy, with sympathy, you know, any of those would work here. And I decided to emboss the sentiment as well, although I didn't do that for the flowers themselves, because I wanted it to just kind of be pretty plain. And I also wanted this to be a card that you could give to a man who is grieving if you wanted to. So I used the Lawn Fawn, the new die from Lawn Fawn that's polka dots, and I just used that as a backing for the focal panel. And then I'm going to put a black frame around the focal panel just so that, to give it a little bit of pop of color, so that there's some differentiation between the polka dots and then the white panel itself. And then we're just going to add some clear Nuvo drops to finish the card. I don't think this part was necessary, but I couldn't help myself. They were on my desk, and you know how it goes. Oh, and then I guess I also got into the black ones as well. So that is it for card number 5 and for part 1. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it gave you some ideas, and I will see you soon in part 2 and later this week with some other videos. Have a great week, everyone, and I will see you soon.